In today's project video, we're going to be using a steel bucket and some kale wool to make a metal foundry that can get hot enough to melt metals such as aluminum and brass at home. Let's get started. This is kale wool. It is a ceramic mat that can get up to temperatures of 3,200 degrees. That's its melting point. It looks like it would light on fire, but it actually won't. And then this is a steel bucket. This is going to be the main body of our metal foundry. So we're going to start lining this with some kale wool. Now when you cut kale wool, it can release a harmful dust into the air that is bad to breathe in. So I'm going to be cutting it while wearing a dust mask and using some scissors. I'm going to try using pressure to hold it in, so there's not going to be like any fasteners or anything. As you can see, there's a gap right here. So I'm going to be cutting another piece off my other piece of kale wool to fill in that gap. This piece of kale wool is not quite big enough, so I just cut out a quick dirty little piece of kale wool to fill in this gap and to hold it all in place. Let's line the lid. My piece of kale wool is not quite wide enough. So I think I'm just going to cut out this, put it in, and then cut out a few other pieces to fill in all the empty spots. As you can see, I left as much space around this cutout as I could so I can use pressure to cram it in so I don't have to use any hardware. Now I'm just going to cut out 2 square pieces to fill in all the gaps. I just cut out a big square piece of cable and I stuck it down into the bottom of the foundry to act as a sort of base. I'm gonna put in some insulating fire brick in there to hold up the crucible that we're gonna use to hold the melted metal. Now that we have finished putting the cow wool on inside our lidded bucket, we are going to put some fire brick, some insulating fire brick at the bottom to act as a base for our crucible, which is going to hold the melted metal. I'm going to begin by opening the fire brick. This kind of fire brick gets most of its insulation from the air inside of the brick. So it's not a very heavy brick, and it's also not that dense. So you should be able to just cut it with any saw. I'm using my hacksaw because it's convenient. And we're going to want to make a piece probably 1/2 inch thick. So measure that. I made a mark in between the 3/4 inch and 1/2 inch line on my measuring tape. And we're gonna want to get a straight edge. You're gonna want to put it over, make sure it's kind of level. It would be a flat surface, and you're gonna want to just make a line all the way across, like so. Then put on some eye protection. Sunglasses work fine. And just start cutting it. I just got a 6-inch piece of this brick because a piece snapped off. As you can see, it was not like 9 inches long before. But we're going to try cutting another one, and we're going to try and get that one to work. Once again, broke another piece, but I think we have enough to make a base. So let's go. Now that we've cut our base, I think we just are gonna set it down right in there. And as long as it's laying flat, it should hold stuff a lot more stably than just the cable would. So let's test it. That is a cup full of water. If the base can hold a glass full of water, it can hold a crucible full of aluminum. So let's begin cutting our vent holes. I have a hole cutting saw, and I'm going to be using this to drill a hole in the side of the steel so we can fit in a propane torch, which I'm going to make in a different video. That is what's going to be used to heat up the crucible. But before we do this, we have to cut vent holes in the lid so that it doesn't explode or air doesn't get trapped in there. So I think I'm going to put one right there and one right there. Let's get started. As you can see, I have decided to travel into the outdoors to drill the holes in my metal foundry because bits of steel and metal were just flying everywhere as I was doing it. So I decided it would be better to do it outside so I wouldn't have to do as much cleaning. So let's keep cutting. Always wear stuff to protect your eyes. we're gonna want to cut a hole in the side of our bucket a little bit off center, so the flames from our propane torch that I'm gonna make next video will travel around the crucible that we're going to have in the center. We're just gonna use the same sized hole saw that we used when we were cutting the lid. So let's just begin cutting it. We now need to cut out the extra kale hole covering the vent holes. Time for vent hole number 2. I have now finished cutting the holes in the lid. And we're going to move on to the main part of the foundry. And there you go. We're now finished cutting out all the holes for this metal foundry. Thank you for watching to the end of this Cubby Creates video. If you liked what you saw, please share this video, like it, and maybe even subscribe to the channel. If you want to build anything like this, I'll put links in the description to the kale wool and a steel bucket. Thank you for watching to the end of this video, and I'll see you guys next time on Cubby Creates.